One of the questions that usually I ask in class is, who are some of the greatest project managers, project leaders that me, so I'm asking you to read my mind, have actually seen, worked with, and been around, back with veterans. But believe it or not, that's not necessarily the answer I was looking for. Other people, they'll say technology industry. And you can say, that's a pretty good guess. I can understand how you got there, but not necessarily the answer I was looking for. And then somebody will say, hey, construction, because they have to do a lot of physical and kind of work with people. And again, I kind of say, all three of those are actually some really good guesses. And then, I'll kind of eventually tell them the answer. And I'm going to share that with you here in just a moment. But in the meantime, welcome back to another episode of John the PM, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. Now, back to the task at hand. A little bit earlier, I asked, who are some of the greatest project managers that I have been around? Now, when I say project manager, I don't necessarily mean just PM, but they could also be project leader. They can be task lead. There's a lot of different names for it. And people sometimes they'll go around the block and they'll name out different domains. And they're actually quite surprised when I actually tell them the kindergarten teacher. And they kind of look at me. Now, some of them, they kind of get it like right off. Some people, they kind of like, where are you going with this, John? And what I say is kindergarten teachers have the unique ability to take a small individual and over the course of a year, turn them into a fully functional, independent young person. That same kindergarten teacher has the unique ability to take a group of young individuals and over the course of the year, make them independent of his or her work and activities. And you know what? That is exactly what a good project manager, a good project leader does, is that he or she will take that group of people and over an appropriate amount of time, make them independent, almost like working yourself out of a job. Except don't worry, because there's plenty of work to go around. So if you kind of think about it, when you think about the growth and development of a team, it really does mirror students, young students, secondary education. And they have the unique skill set of doing that. And that is really one of the core issues of leadership. The ability to train, instruct, lead, guide others so that they can do their work. And that is essentially what a project manager does. So, in my mind, kindergarten teachers, secondary school educators, they have that unique skill set from day one. Now, on the actual domains, that could be a bit of an issue, but they know and understand people. Now, I'm going to dive onto this just a little bit more. Not only do they do that with one individual, but keep in mind that they can have a whole classroom of them. And each of those individuals can have multiple personalities. Now, the individual, the young person, over the course of the year, their personality does change. So if you think about it in a strategic way, when they're actually working with others out in the corporate world, they're actually able to deal with a lot of different personalities without almost thinking about it. And again, over the appropriate period of time, they're able to make them self-sufficient. Now, I work with a lot of teachers, both in a lot of nonprofit, work that we're heavily involved in. And sometimes I understand that sometimes being in the classroom is stressful. You have the parents, you have the children, you have the administration, you have the community at large, the community at small, whatever, all those different factors that are coming in. And while 99.99%, people jump into that profession because they have a really good heart. So there's nothing wrong with what they're trying to do. Sometimes they get a little burnt out, a little worn out, and perhaps they need a change. But then the question becomes, change to what? And this is where we kind of come into play. So we train and develop project managers. We train and develop project leaders. We take an individual who has a good skill set, in and of itself, good background, and help transition them into more of a corporate environment. Sometimes when I'm working with teachers, They not necessarily think that their skill sets are transferable out into the corporate world. And we're here to kind of show them that it is actually quite doable. A lot of the things that you do in the classroom is extremely applicable out in the public. So let's just take a couple for example. One is explaining things. Whew. You have to be really good to explain to young people, 4, 5, and 6 year olds, what the task is, how to do it, but not do it in a condescending way, but do it in a positive way. Out in the private sector, you have to work with people from multiple generations, but you still have to be able to explain it in a way that they can actually do the work. So your communication skills have to be incredibly high. You also have to do reports. You maintain reports and files. There's no big secret in the school system. You have to do that. Well, guess what? The same thing applies in the private sector. You have to maintain reports and data and things of that nature, and you have to be able to pull it up fairly quickly. Now, there are some teachers I've worked with who have transitioned into a more of a corporate environment, and their ability to kind of keep up with records, dates, names, numbers is phenomenal. Now, when we introduce the AI tool to them and give them some other things, they become unstoppable. Now, I can go on for a while, but what I like to do, if you're a teacher, if you're looking to switch careers, maybe you haven't made a final decision, maybe you're just kind of looking, observing, seeing if you really, really want to, what I would do is I would invite you to one of our webinars. And during this webinar, we'll kind of lay it all out for you. We'll give you plenty of material about how you can actually structure or think about how you may want to transition. Now, if you've already made the decision to transition, awesome. This will, certainly help you. But if you're just not really sure and you just kind of want to sort of see what are the opportunities, what are the potential, and talk to real individuals who have actually done this, and again, I would invite you to one of our webinars. All the details are going to be in our show notes below so that you can easily, sign up. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that session of John the PM. This was really meant for our career switchers, for those who are switching from the teaching industry over into the private sector or corporate environment. We hope that you found it of value. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the liking button. It helps us out on the algorithms and things of that nature. But more importantly, it allows us to be a better service back to you. Thank you, and may all of your work be superb.